What did you think of the Hunter Biden verdict?
Shocking and awesome. So much awe. He's the sacrificial lamb. I mean, everybody's been trained by this administration to just know how incompetent and bad they are, so they don't ever have to excuse it now.
I'm not that sympathetic. I'm not. I mean, I'm glad that people are. I mean, it sucks that he had a drug addiction, but it's like I said in our show this morning. I have a wildly dysfunctional family, but I didn't do crap. If they hadn't had done this, if this wasn't the verdict, then everybody on our side of the aisle would be saying, see, it's not fair. It's not fair. But now they can say, oh, it's fair, when we all know that it's not freaking fair.
All right, a lot to break down. We saw that Hunter Biden verdict. Unbelievable. We're going to talk about the media coverage. What does it mean politically? So much to get to. Chicks on the right are here to break it all down. Plus, apparently no one wants Kamala Harris. A brand new poll out showing that voters and even Democrats don't want Kamala Harris. That may be Joe Biden's saving grace. Even after he froze at a White House event, we're going to talk about that. Plus, in a very perturbing piece of news, 6 members of ISIS apparently ended up in the U.S. One dum-dum even used the app, the Biden Asylum app. He's still in. All right, so a lot to break down. Before I get to that, real quick, we had Bill O'Reilly the other day. He told me, he said, we're going to send galley copies of the book out to all of our friends. Thank you, Bill O'Reilly. I'm excited to actually get into this. Always amazing books. You can get yours on Amazon now. It comes out in September. He never disappoints. Thank you, Bill O'Reilly. Anyway, before we get into the discussion with Chicks on the Right, I do want to tell you about another good friend of mine, Leo Grillo. Leo, as you know, founded Delta Rescue. This guy's an unbelievable animal lover. I rescued 3 dogs, so I think I'm an animal lover. But this guy is an animal lover on steroids. He founded Delta Rescue. If you go to deltarescue.org, check out the videos. You will immediately see what I'm talking about. He founded it as a no-kill sanctuary for life. Now, first time I talked to Leo, I said something about shelter. He said, no, Sean, it's not a shelter. Shelter is like a way station, and a lot of times they're kill shelters and there's various different. I have a no-kill sanctuary. I will take care of these animals, the dogs, the cats, the horses, you name it, for life. That's how committed this guy is. He gives them the veterinarian care, the nutritional care, but it all relies on the help of us. Me, you, making small donations. If you can afford a $50, $100, $1,000 donation, please go to deltarescue.org. Check out the videos and you will be sold. You'll see what I'm talking about, the work that Leo has founded. If you're there, though, and you really are an animal lover, do me a favor, just check out the estate planning kit, because Leo wants this mission that he has founded to go on beyond him. So please take a look at it. Help the work of Delta Rescue, because what Leo has done is phenomenal. And if you're an animal lover like I am, you'll want to help this out. Thank you very much. Now I want to get into it with the chicks on the right. You know them. I know them. They've been here all the time. Mock and Daisy, an amazing show they put on every day. We got a lot to break down with them. Let's go. Ladies, always good to see you. Thanks for joining me. You never disappoint, so this is going to be fun.
Thank you.
All right, let's start. Let's start with a very lighthearted topic. What did you think of the Hunter Biden verdict?
It was shocking and awesome. So much awe.
Were you? Well, no. I'm being serious, because I will. Like I said it yesterday, I'll say it again. I was shocked because I was convinced. I don't know if you guys remember this. There used to be something on football, right? On Sunday footballs, it would be like, you make the call. And they would do these things. And this is probably in the 80s and the 90s. And they would show this controversial call where the ball went out of bounds or got intercepted or something. And then they'd say, you make the call. And it was sponsored by somebody. And they'd come back and they'd say, in this case, the player's foot was out of bounds. The referee made the right call. If you said da-da-da. And there was a spoof on this once on Saturday Night Live where it had the Boston Celtics playing. And it was like this flagrant foul where the guy punches him. And he's like, you make the call. And it's just like, well, that normally would have been a foul. The Boston Celtics playing in their home, Boston Garden, that's not a foul. And it was kind of a spoof on it. And I kept thinking, Hunter Biden in Wilmington, Delaware, with a jury of his peers, can't be found guilty of anything. And I just kept thinking to myself, the sympathy factor, Jill in the courtroom, And I was convinced that they weren't going to convict him. And
Me
so
too.
I was shocked. Okay.
Yeah.
He's the sacrificial lamb. I mean,
wait. Good. I'm glad you brought this up.
Totally.
Tell me, but pull the thread. Tell me why.
Well, because this now gives legitimacy to the Trump conviction, right? They can use this and they can be like, well, see, it's not two tiers of justice. It's completely equal and everything is fair. And see, here's proof. This is all by design.
Until we see how much jail time this guy doesn't get, right? I mean, let's just get real. Like, as a normal person doing this stuff, like if I did what he did, I'd be going to jail. But he's not going to go to jail, you guys. He's not.
But I also think, look, I thought you were going to, first of all, let me just stay on this theme for a second. The interesting thing is, I think you're right, but most people don't understand he was offered a sweetheart deal. He chose to be there. This was not like the DOJ went after him. They, in fact, were like, dude, go out the side door, go out the side door, go out the side door. And he was like, no, I'm going forward. Like, he was that guy who always says, I'm going to take my case to the jury, where every attorney's like, no, bad idea. And I think this is what happened. Everyone keeps forgetting, at least the Democrats that are using this as a talking point, because I think you're right, Mock, that he's saying this. The Dems are saying, see, there's not two tiers of justice. And it's like, no. He had the opportunity to get out of all of this. He chose not to. That's not, that Trump wasn't given a deal and then didn't take it.
Right. And there was no statute of limitations that ran out because of the special prosecutor for Trump either. I mean, David Weiss botched that case big time after he tried to get like the big deal. And then the judge was like, wait, this is really sketch and I'm not going to allow it. And now here we are.
And plus it's all smoke and mirrors for the bigger stuff, right? Like all the
that,
shady
okay, this is the thread
and all that.
Okay, pull the thread, because this is where I thought Mock was going.
We're pulling. I mean, because there's all the big, all the shady business dealings and all the tax charges and all that crap that it's just all smoke and mirrors for that. So, but it's like Mock says, I mean, they can say, no, I mean, everything is fair and our justice system works. And now they can say that, because if they hadn't had done this, if this wasn't the verdict, then everybody on our side of the aisle would be saying, see, it's not fair. It's not fair. But now they can say, oh, it's fair, when we all know that it's not freaking fair.
So I'll give a credit to my friend Tim Murtaugh, who's going to be on the panel tomorrow. He was on Fox, and I heard him say this, which is kind of where I thought one of you was going on this initially, which was, he was like, listen, this is the only case that doesn't involve Joe Biden. Hunter's taxes, all these other things involve Joe. And so if the DOJ got into these, they'd have to be, it would involve Joe Biden and be a direct link to him. This is the only case that there is no correlation between Hunter's actions and anything involving Joe Biden. And that's where I thought, like, they threw him out there, I think, to be this sympathetic victim. But interestingly, they wanted to do it on the one case that they knew couldn't touch Joe.
Thus the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then let's this is what I thought, having worked in the White House twice, but real close the second time with Trump. Yesterday, Joe Biden does this event. He delivered a gun safety speech right after Trump's. Now, you could argue, well, it was already on the schedule, but they knew a week ago, 2 weeks ago, that Hunter would be on trial, and they knew he was giving the speech. I just, the optics of that were so bad and so stupid. I just can't believe that nobody thought, hey, why don't we shift the gun safety speech to a couple weeks after your son's on trial for gun safety?
You have a lot of faith in this administration, don't you, Sean?
I mean, can't make it up.
Can you just, I mean, I've been in the meetings, right? And everybody gets a seat, if you will, like when you do these planning meetings in the White House, like, there's a proposal that the president speak at this Associations. And, we're thinking of accepting it. And then they go around the room. Is everyone good with that? White House counsel, ledge affairs. You guys got any issues? Are you hating on anyone? Are they got any issues? Okay. Comms, press. You guys good with that? Everybody says anything. At some point, someone was like, could I say something? Does everybody know that his son's on trial for throwing a gun into a trash?
Do you think they actually do that? Do you think that this administration actually has those kind of meetings, though? I mean, seriously.
I think that they might have the meeting, but I just wonder if anyone, at some point, like some dude's in the back with his hand up and everyone looks at him and he's like, I'm sorry. I had to go to the bathroom. But I don't know. Having been in them, I'm thinking to myself, okay, are you guys that tone deaf? And that's kind of what I wanted to get into. The second thing is that where was the media coverage to say, I mean, if this was Trump, I can't help but have the PTSD aspect of this, where I'm like, oh my God, if Trump was giving a speech on the day that Don or Eric had been convicted on something on a topic that was in competition with this or at odds with it, they would be all over. How stupid is the White House? Da, 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 da. Nothing. No coverage about this.
Yeah.
And secondly, no one's asking a question like, Mr. President, since you're so into gun safety, don't you believe that what your son did violating the application on the federal firearms application, is something that you should be talking about, and nothing. No one from the press corps covered this as if there was anything wrong with it.
Because they don't have to. They don't have to do that anymore because everybody's been trained by this administration to just know how incompetent and bad they are. So they don't ever have to excuse it now. They don't worry, I don't think, about anybody talking bad about them or having this kind of conversation. Because when are they ever held accountable for any of it? When are they ever called out? They've got like a complete safe haven in the mainstream media. KJP's canceling her pressers. They don't have to answer to anything. I mean, they just don't. Like, they can say anything. They can gaslight us all day, every day. And nothing happens. Nothing changes.
Except for Joe Biden is like threatening us with F-15s and then telling us we can't buy cannons.
Right. By the way, Katie Pavlich posted a picture. I don't know if it was tongue in cheek or if it was real. She said, by the way, we can't own cannons. And she's standing in front of a cannon. I don't know if she actually owns the cannon.
I want one.
I know, but I was like, I don't.
Googled that. I Googled it yesterday. I'm like, where can I buy a cannon?
And also, is that the right example? I'm like, I don't know that too many, I don't know that cannons pose an imminent threat to a lot of people.
Do you carry them around? Like, how do you transport? You have to put them in the back of your truck and drive them. How do you? Yeah, they're
also,
not very
don't you think that highlights his age where he's like, you also don't need a cannon. And I'm like, I remember when we all had cannons. You don't need them anymore.
And bayonets. Yeah.
My uncle used to say to me, Joey, when you pull out the cannon, remember to, I was like, dude, what are you doing? The thing that was so funny, to just stay on the media theme for a second, is it went the opposite. This is how Political Playbook wrote this up this morning. Okay, so again, remember, let's just frame this in context for everyone watching. Hunter Biden convicted of a gun charge, an issue that, and we'll talk about a couple of the other pieces of this, but is central to the Democrats' talking point. People shouldn't own guns that have issues. They shouldn't lie on federal firearms. So he gets convicted of this crime, right? And the top lead in Politico, buried down, isn't Hunter convicted, political consequences, how Hunter could help. Okay, and this is what it said. It sent Biden sprinting to Wilmington, Delaware to hug his son on the tarmac, and it sent observers scrambling to make sense of the political implications of an unprecedented situation. A sitting president's son convicted on 3 felony counts. This much we've been able to gather in the hours since the jury read the Hunter Biden verdict. It's hard to find anyone who thinks this conviction is going to dramatically change the course of the election. I don't recall anything of that nature during the trial. Like, Trump looked at son Eric and thought to himself, like, what is, that to me, look, they're trying to make this all about having a sympathetic view of Hunter's addiction. Again, I am sympathetic. I know millions of families struggle with this all the time. But it is not an excuse to commit a crime. And their party is using this. If it was anyone else, they would be pointing to this as Exhibit A on why we shouldn't let certain people have guns.
Yeah, I'm not that sympathetic. I'm not. I'm glad that people are. It sucks that he had a drug addiction, but it's like I said in our show this morning. I have a wildly dysfunctional family, but I didn't do crack. So it's like, I don't see how, I know they do this correlation. It's like he had dysfunction, he had sadness, there was despair in his life, there was hardship. And so naturally he turned to crack and prostitutes and all. It's like, okay, but not everybody does that. Some people just they turn to other things, like trying to make their life a success,
Right.
And so
but again, I look, I do have sympathy for, and I get it. He grew up in a life of privilege, but he also dealt with the death of his mom and his sister early on. And but I will say this: that's not an excuse. I don't.
Right,
The problem I have is that, like, Lots of people go through hardship, but that doesn't mean that you can do this. And again, to me, the double irony is this is an issue with the Democratic Party. If you took Hunter Biden's name out of it, walked up to any random Democrat and said, let me ask you a question. If somebody lies on a federal firearm application, question 11E, that asks about active drug use, and they lie about it, what should happen? They would say unequivocally that person shouldn't have a gun. In fact, they should be penalized. Yeah. But we put Hunter's name on it, and it's like, let's give him a hug on the tarmac.
Exactly. Right. that's why I get so, I kind of go, okay, well, I'm supposed to feel bad for him. I mean, because if it were any other person, right, any other regular citizen, they would get in trouble. They would go to jail.
So to the question, Mock, and I'll start with you, like, to that Politico rendition of what happened yesterday. I mean, it sounds like a screenplay. Biden got off the thing. He hugged Hunter and then looked gazingly into the sun, pledging to fight continuously for the American people and all of that. But does it matter? Meaning, do you think that the son of the sitting president's conviction for a gun charge will have any outcome whatsoever on the political race that we face right now?
I don't know that it will change anything that he was convicted. But I do think that there's going to be some fallout from the fact that now we know unequivocally that the laptop is real, even though most of us
I want to get to that.
have known that. Mm-hmm. So the fallout from that could have an impact because, as you mentioned, there's going to be the tax case that could actually pin some crime stuff to Joe, which could become very, very interesting. So, but I mean, your point about how the media has framed this is so hypocritical because exactly what you said, the way that they talked about the family, the people who attended Trump's trial, no one ever said, oh, look at the closeness of that family. They love each other and support each other so much. And that's all they're doing with the fact that Jill was there, that whoever other family members were there. They're fussing about that in the most ridiculous, over the top way that you can't help but notice the contrast. I mean, it's unbelievable to watch.
Yeah. And now it's like we have people in our audience who are like, you got 51 people that we know now that lied about this laptop. 51 people in the intelligence community.
Well, wait, Daisy, just answer the first question first, because I want to talk about the laptop. But do you think that there'll be any discernible change in the race because of this conviction?
No, because I think people are just so angry about. I think people still believe that there's a two-tier system of justice. I think people, they can see through the BS. Yeah. I think that our government, the powers that be, don't give the American people enough credit.
All right, so you touched on the laptop. I want to go there because the DOJ, the FBI, basically admitted in court that this laptop was real. Mm-hmm. And the thing that's interesting about this, I mean, and you can pick up on the point that you were making, but I think that there's two issues at hand. One, the media lied over and over and over again.
Experts say it has all the hallmarks of information laundering.
This looks like your classic disinformation campaign.
There are major questions about the origins and the accuracy of that story. The president's personal attorney was peddling Russian disinformation.
Former New York City mayor, president's personal lawyer, and longtime friend, White House was warned that Rudy was the target of Russian intelligence operation to feed misinformation to Trump.
My colleagues at the Post reported tonight a pretty explosive story, which is that U.S. intelligence agencies believed that Rudy Giuliani was being worked over by Russian intelligence assets as a conduit to feed misinformation to the president.
And not just them, but I believe that same word, it begins with an L, also applies to Joe Biden, who said that this was not real, this was Russian disinformation, and it applies to Hunter. They have gotten away with with perpetrating this, all of them, the media and the Bidens, in lying about this laptop that they knew was true, right? They did. This wasn't like, oh my God, you're right. There were two laptops, the Apple and the PC, and I didn't realize the Apple was gone and the Mac was gone and the PC. Like, they knew it. Hunter was asked point blank, well, are you missing a laptop? And it could be. I got one. It's right here, right? If it's missing, I'll know about it. It's not like, I don't know, I got like 18 Macs. Who knows? Which one was it? The black one? Oh, that's, you know me with my laptops. I mean, I get a kick. I don't get a kick. That's not the right word. I'm so blown away by the fact that, again, there's no repercussions.
Right.
The same people who are reporting on this are reporting on the current election and telling us there's no evidence for whatever. And then the same guy who lied about this is telling us about beware of misinformation. And Daisy, I know you were touching on this, so go from there, because I didn't mean to.
Well, I think that's why when you ask, will this change anything? I think this just enrages people even more, because they start seeing this stuff come out and they recognize that we've been lied to by the media. We've been lied to by this administration. We've just been lied to over and over again. We can't trust any of these people. And so they want something different. You know, they remember the guy that used to tell them the truth. And sometimes the truth was in the form of tweets that were, not so savory at times, but at least it was the truth. And people are hungry for that. And so, I mean, that's why I think it's not going to change a lot of people's minds. It's not going to make people say, I want, this walking, pooping zombie in the White House again for 4 more years. They're going to want somebody who's going to tell them the truth. So I think that's the direction that people are going in. It's not going to change this other stuff is not going to change their minds.
Well, I'm super frustrated about the fact that those 51 people and anybody else, that there has been no accountability, and that our press will not be inviting every last one of them on all the talk shows and making them answer that question. This is election interference is all that was. And no one's being held accountable.
No one.
But you're putting your finger on the exact problem. Okay? If they're all in it together, why would the media, who was complicit in this, punish the people who they had on their show to perpetuate this? They're all in it together, right? The Bidens lied about it, right? They knew about it. The 51 intelligence agency officials amplified it, and the media played it for them. So what do you think? One of them is going to call each other out? But that's what I think is so ridiculous, that this idea, and who was it yesterday? I think I have the note here somewhere. One of the members of Congress, I think it's Tim Burchett. Yeah, Tim Burchett says, I'm requesting an immediate investigation of Secretary Blinken and the 51 intelligence officials for their role in interfering in the 2020 election. We don't give intelligence community all these taxpayer dollars for them to undermine our democratic process. And that's the other thing. It's not just random intel officials, right?
Right.
This is the Secretary of State, the National Security Advisor, all these people who are currently in. And again, where is the accountability? Because there's 2 things that are possible with this, okay? You are either really stupid and somebody called you and said, see, this is Russian intelligence. You went, all right, it's Russian intelligence for us. And that was, and you just echoed it, which makes me think that you're not that much of an intelligence official.
Right.
Or you knowingly lied. But it has to be one of the 2.
It's the second. They lied. They lied to interfere in the election. That was the goal. That was the plan. And they did it, and they've gotten away with it.
Okay, so they get away with it, and then people are mad about it. And then you start hearing people say, okay, well, I want a hearing about it. But then we've seen all these hearings, Sean. So then what happens with the hearing? Like, so Americans are out here, and we hear it every day. They're like, okay, that's great. We see a hearing. There's some sound bites. There's people who get on these podiums, and they say all these things. And we're like, yay, you said the things. But when are heads going to roll? When
you're missing that. Wait, next step. Send out a fundraising letter saying, I had a hearing and I asked a question.
Right. It's like, that's great for you. But like, when do we stop paying their pensions? Because I'd really like to stop doing that for some of these people. And that doesn't happen. To me, that's accountability. And we're not seeing that happen. And people are fed up.
So 2 things to your point that I would like to see start happening. One is either don't go on the shows of the people who were part of this in the media. Or 2, when you go on, every Republican that goes on a Sunday talk show and they go, Senator, will you accept the results of the election in 2024 no matter what?
My God.
And then yes or no, Senator, yes or no. First of all, I get a kick out of it. So I think that they should start the shows with saying, before I get going, do you apologize for spreading misinformation? And they should put them on the spot. Number 2.
I love that.
Of course. Well, but this is the point that Daisy's making. Where's the, like, these guys go, is that CNN calling again? Of course I'll come on.
You know what you just described? The tactic of Pierre Poilievre, how he does interviews. You know how he does that? He like turns it around and he's like, no, I'm going to play offense and you're going to be defense. Right. And you're right. Our politicians, they need to start doing that with the media. It would be a beautiful thing to see, Sean.
Right. So that's number 1. Turn it on them and say, hey, before we get going, you or your network perpetuated false and misleading information, suppressed the vote going up to the election. Do you apologize? Before we continue this interview with you, I just want to make sure and make them answer the question. Number two, to the 51 intelligence officials, why is Tim Burchett the only guy that's out there doing this? Burchett, I'm sorry, I keep butchering his name. But why is he the only? Why are they not saying, hey, you used a government-funded intelligence or security clearance to lie, to spread misinformation? It blows my mind because the same people will turn around and be like, we're guarding against misinformation this cycle. And I'm like, dude, you have a PhD in spreading it.
Yes. You're the high priest of spreading it. Yes.
Okay. Anyway, those are my two things. But I agree with you. I think this idea of like hearings, at some point, I feel like someone should walk in and be like, the hearing is done. You either do something or you can't have the hearing. Because it's right. All right. I hate to interrupt this amazing conversation, but you know what? You never know when you're going to get interrupted. Sometimes it may take your power out. Maybe that power goes out for a day. Maybe that power goes out for a week or a month. I've had it go out for 6-7 days. I've told you this before. A few years back, we lost power in the neighborhood. I had a gas can. I'm bringing it up the street. We actually had 2 gas stations right up the street. One was closed, one was open. And I'd fill it up, come back every few hours, get that generator going, run the cords in the house. Got to keep it outside. But then I got a Patriot Power Generator 2000X. The cool thing about this, one, it runs on a solar panel that comes free with it. You don't have to worry about the gas, the fumes, the noise. No way. It all is taken care of. And that solar panel comes free with the Patriot Power Generator 2000X. You can bring it in your house. You can pick it up and carry it with you. It is so powerful that it'll run for hours. Your big stuff, your refrigerator, your TV, your computers, your tablets, your phones, medical devices, you name it, it's taken care of. If you have a family, you need a Patriot Power Generator 2000X because you're going to want to take care of them. Maybe a neighbor, maybe another family member that doesn't live near you. The cool part about it is it literally is so light that you can pick it up and take it with you. And you can bring the solar panel with you as well. So go to 4patriots.com/Spicer, 4patriots.com/Spicer to get a Patriot Power Generator 2000X now. Trust me, when something goes sideways, you are not going to want to be without one. Get it now. Get ahead of the curve. Thank you. Speaking of like the FBI and spreading misinformation, Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, had this op-ed out in the Washington Post, and it says, unfounded attacks on the Justice Department must end. Conspiracy theories, falsehoods, and threats of violence against DOJ personnel are not normal. Okay, look, I will say this at the jump. There should never, I've always said violence is not the acceptable answer in our society. If you have a problem, go through the means. He says, in recent weeks, we have seen an escalation of attacks that go far beyond public scrutiny, criticism, and legitimate and necessary oversight of our work. They are baseless, personal, and dangerous. These attacks come in the form of threats to defund particular department investigations, most recently the special counsel's prosecution of the former president. The bottom line is, based on what we just said, what confidence do we have in this? Selective prosecution, double standards of justice, right? And then 51 intelligence agency, who this guy oversees a lot of it, is we're supposed to say, oh, by the way, it's amazing how you suddenly care. But you didn't come in and say, guys, after the 2020 election, I want to restore some confidence by doing the following. Suddenly the attacks, which, okay, I'm sure if you go online, there's some nut job, Kitty426, that has said something stupid. Where's the concern, by the way, of the dude whose cousin? I mean, they're very selective in their outrage, aren't they?
Yes, they are very selective. And they're putting like pro-life activists in jail.
Right.
And then the people who don't need to be, I mean, you know what I mean? And the people who need to be in jail are not going to jail. It is really weird. And like, when I hear you say that he wrote that op-ed or what, I mean, it's like he doesn't want dissent. And we're all about dissent here.
Well, and if his op-ed, if the point of it is just to scold America for being mean to the DOJ, instead of doing what you said, Sean, which is to say, you know what? We have effed up in some major ways. And here are those ways. And here's how we're going to fix those ways. But nobody, I mean, starting way back with James Comey, they cannot accept any personal responsibility, any blame.
But let's talk about James. Let's talk about Director Comey for a second.
Oh, let's talk about him.
So he's the guy that let Hillary Clinton off the hook for breaking the law, right?
Yeah.
And then you had Joe Biden, who was let off by special counsel Robert Hur because he's old and sympathetic. So then you wonder, gosh, Mr. Attorney General, maybe people are upset because they watch how your Department of Justice handles people on the left versus people on the right. And you wonder why we don't have confidence. And then your answer is to say, you bad boys and girls, don't you dare use language like that again.
Yeah, you can't have to say, because I mean, you think that Comey would be able to have some self-awareness as he sits on his moss and like does yoga. I can't with that guy. They're Democrats. It's so they're Democrats and they help the Democrats. Anybody with half a brain cell can see that. And
it's
so
funny because I do think that this all gets back to like what you and I and all these folks in independent media are doing now, because they don't want to cover it. And if it wasn't for what we're all doing and having these discussions, it wouldn't be in the bloodstream at all.
Yep, you're right. Mm-hmm.
All right, I want to talk about this event that happened at the White House, Weekend at Bernie's. President Biden, first of all, I will admit this, just because I'm sure somebody's got an answer, and I don't want to look completely out of touch, but I didn't look at this much into it. They had a Juneteenth celebration on June 11th.
Yeah, that was weird. What was that all about?
Yeah, again, maybe the band, you couldn't get the band anymore, or the White House was rented out at some other time. I don't know. But I don't understand why.
I had to look at my calendar because I was like, I thought that there was a teen in
We're having a 4th of July celebration today.
Right.
I don't, but so like that aside, and I'm sure someone's going to email me tonight in the comments, because this, but I do think it's a little weird. Anyway, he's frozen at this thing. Yeah. And I got to be honest with you. The headline in Fox was "Lights are on, but nobody's home," or that was what the Trump campaign posted on X. I've got to be, if I'm them, I've got to be on the Biden team, not him. I've got to be really concerned because there's this push. We got to get him out there more. We got to get Biden out. And I'm like, that's what happens when you get him out there. Go back to the basement, bro. I wouldn't get him out there. Can you imagine? He didn't say anything. The guy can't
do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So for all these people on the left who keep saying, we just need to get him out there more. I'm like, dude, that's out there.
Yeah.
He can't. And the thing is, the guy that's if you're looking at the video to his right, so Kamala's on his left, or Kamala's on his right, our left. And
right.
The other dude gets best performing, whatever that's called, but best performing actor. Supporting. Because he's like, I'm going to show you guys he's alive.
That was George Floyd's brother, right? Isn't that who that was?
Who it was? Okay.
Yeah, George Floyd's brother. And then there was like Billy, what's his name?
Billy Porter, I think.
Billy Porter.
Yeah,
it was like
Kamala.
There's so many weirdos there. It was like the cantina scene at Star Wars. It was like this weird gaggle of like misfits and like sequins, and then Doug can't dance and he's doing the white man's overbite, and it was just everything.
But that was I mean, you had Biden standing there like this,
like C-3PO.
And I was like,
yeah.
I felt like, you know what I did? And I'm sorry but I literally felt like after that event, there was like, Mr. President, Senator McConnell's on the phone, and he was just like, Mr. President, now you know how I feel.
Oh my God.
I mean, like, I was like, what? They both have the same thing. It's just like, they froze. But the thing is that it's got to scare the heck out of folks to see that. And it tees up a big story that came out. It actually was the lead in Politico today, where it talks about everybody's scared of Kamala Harris. They're basically saying no one on the left wants her. And I get it. I mean, I wouldn't want her. And I think that the problem is that the lead in Politico today was why the Democrats are stuck with Joe, because this is what they have. And I think
you don't think they can slip somebody else in, like at the DNC?
No. But let me this is the lead. Why Biden ain't budging. Voters have real doubts about Kamala Harris's potential president, poll shows. No kidding. Really? I didn't need a story to tell me that. The Politico Morning Consult poll reveals that only a third of voters, who are the third? Are they related to her? They think that it's likely that Harris would win an election where she become the Democratic nominee, and just 3 of 5 Democrats. Now, I know that they're going to cry racism or sexism,
yeah, totally.
But when 3 of 5 of your own party don't want you, that's not on racism. That's not on sexism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but they have no choice. I mean, that is why they're stuck with Biden, because they know that Kamala is a disaster. And I mean, they can't skip over her. They couldn't grab a Gavin or God forbid, like a Mayor Pete. They couldn't skip over her because then they look really bad. The optics of that are so bad to literally pass over the next in line
But why
black
couldn't they?
woman because she's a black woman.
Right.
And
I
that
mean,
goes
but-
against everything they say they stand for.
But they do stupid stuff all the time, and they make it up as they go along all the time. They'll think of some reason, and then they'll make excuses for themselves. I mean, they're
But the
awful
thing is-
people. They do.
The thing
They
is,
make-
what you're
Yeah.
saying is they, right? The problem is she's part of the they. And that she's not going to
She's not
just
gonna step aside.
She's not going
Yeah.
to step aside. Right. She's just like, I have waited my whole life and I've hung out with Willie Brown. I'm being PG about that. I've
Mhm.
done everything to get to this place. I'm not just giving it up. And I believe that was the one brilliant political thing that Biden did. He guaranteed his nomination by putting her in. Because nobody from the Republicans to the independents to the Democrats will accept her as the vice president. I mean, as the president. So
the only thing I can see them doing is like making a deal with her where they say, look,
Yeah, that's
you're going to be the Supreme Court. You're going to be either AG or you're going to be nominated to the Supreme Court. And so just if you could just say that you don't want to be president,
like,
we'll
give her
give
some-
you this other spot and then it'll be okay.
Like,
But
give her a
I don't think
cush
they're going to do
deal.
it.
and make it because you know how the establishment works. They can give her some sort of a cush deal and then make her be quiet, and then she lives the rest of her life happily ever after, getting paid by the American taxpayer.
I get it. If you give me a deal like that, I'm in. I don't
Yeah,
think.
right.
I'm like, hey, here's like I'm all in. I'm all into the deal. But here's the problem. I don't think that part of that is predicated on the fact that she accepts the deal. She is there because she wants it. She ran for president. She has dreamed of this day since she was a little girl in San Francisco. This is what I mean. She's not.
She's got
stepping
Venn
aside.
diagrams about it.
And you don't think
I can't even
you
do a
don't
big
think there's like a small part of her that thinks that she's in over her head? Because I
Oh,
think that there's
no.
a tiny portion of her, like just a little tiny portion of her that thinks maybe I'm in over my head, because she is wildly in over her head.
I think she is the least self-aware person,
Yeah.
politically speaking. And the people that I know her on the left that who are honest about it say the same thing, that she is so driven that although I will tell you, the funny thing is I had a conversation with a friend of mine who is a fairly left-leaning connected guy and said privately she is much more comfortable and at ease than she is in these public settings. But I agree. How do you watch the video and be like, wow, that was a great cackle?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I cackled well.
It's terrible. Yeah, but I keep thinking there's no way that Biden can do 4 more years. I mean, physically, mentally, there's just no way. It's elder abuse what they're doing.
So let's get back to this, though. This is the point that I'm making. You're Kamala Harris, right? And you're sitting there and saying, and this is with all of the haters that want to watch this is no disrespect. The average life expectancy for a male in the United States is 76. Biden's playing with house money, right? I'm just telling you the facts. I'm not wishing anybody any ill will, but I'm saying if you're a logical person, you're Kamala Harris, you say, that guy, if he gets reelected, the odds are really good that I end up as president. And that's why she doesn't. And oh, by the way, let me just give you the what's behind door number 2. I don't have to campaign for it. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to raise money. I don't have to do any of this. I get to sit back and get anointed. It's like being Prince Harry or whatever.
Yeah.
Prince Charles. Prince Harry's the one. He's in California. But I'm just saying, like, you get anointed, and she's like, I'm not going anywhere. I didn't sit around for 40 years pretending that this guy's doing a good job for nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. I that's why I just can't imagine.
And we're screwed because, if Biden wins, that's what we're going to get. We're going to get President Harris.
Oh my God, what a nightmare.
I wonder, I think that normally that's not a campaign issue. No one campaigns on the vice president. I've been very clear. I don't think vice presidents have ever historically really mattered because it just doesn't work that way. In terms of like people voting, saying, gosh, here's how I'm going to consider, because they realize the role of vice president.
Even when they're that old, though?
That's what I was going to say. I wonder if I were the Trump campaign, I might start to say, this is that close, right? We're talking about a handful of people and a handful of states. So you don't need, 2 points or 200,000 people. You need 10,000 people to think this is a big issue in Arizona, 10,000 people in Michigan, 10,000 people in Wisconsin. And suddenly, that's a big deal. I think they should elevate this issue and be like, you're voting for Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They should.
And the RNC should run with ads that say that. Absolutely.
Right.
They should pummel people with ads.
A vote
that
for
are
Biden
all-
is a vote no matter what. It's a lose-lose situation.
Yep.
Maybe that's the thing. All right. Well, the other thing that I want to just touch on that I thought has been a pet peeve of mine, because I think Republicans have fumbled the ball when it comes to the biggest political gift of an issue, is the issue of the border. And then yesterday we see this headline come out. 6 suspected terrorists with ISIS ties are arrested in sting operation in New York, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia. And this is what it says. 6 Russian national suspected to have terror ties to ISIS have been arrested in a coordinated sting operation spanning Los Angeles, New York, Philadelphia. The New York Post can exclusively reveal. 2 ICE sources confirmed the Post. They arrested the 6 people who all hailed from Tajikistan, which is this landlocked country kind of in the middle of all the stands.
It's called a stand.
I mean, it's like the hub of the stand hub. That they arrested 6 people over the last week. FBI contacted the agency to warn of. Apparently, one of the dudes actually used the app, the asylum app that Biden issued. But as funny as this may be to us, this is scary. They remember, and I keep reminding people, just what was it, a month ago, 2 months ago, a dude from ISIS-K goes into a theater in Russia and mows down 100 and something people and says, we're coming to America next. And then we see this and we're like, yeah, maybe we should care.
We're supposed to believe that there's just 6 terrorists out of the 10 million people that have crossed illegally. No,
I think it's more than 10 million. I think it's, I
don't care if it's 1.
Right.
But this is the point. Like, it doesn't take a lot of people. How many people did it take to fly the planes into buildings and kill thousands and thousands of Americans? It just takes 1 for a bomb or any of these other opportunities to do harm to us. And I feel like we keep getting the wake-up call and no one's answering it.
Yeah.
Right. You're absolutely right, Sean. It's like we talk about that too a lot. We're just sort of bracing ourselves for the when, because it's not an if anymore. It's a when. So when is that going to happen? And will that make people actually wake up? Because it's going to happen. So then will people go, okay, enough is enough. Now we need to start voting for policies that make this stop, because it's insane. It's an invasion at this point.
Yes.
I mean, we're all for immigration. My God, Miriam's parents were, they were immigrants from Poland. So we're all about immigration legally.
Right.
We want people to come here legally. And that's what, people just don't understand the difference. I don't know why that's so difficult to grasp the difference between the two. We don't want people just pouring across our border unvetted. And I don't understand also how people can say, hey, you need to wear a mask and do these things and, get vaccinated. All these people need to follow these rules when it comes to vaccinations. But then, also there's the disease part of this too, where people are coming across the border unvetted and they're bringing in God knows what diseases too. So it's not just a national security issue. It's also a health issue. We've got, we're overburdened when it comes to resources, hospitals, finances. Schools. I mean, it's our community. I live in Texas, so this affects me, obviously, maybe more so than some people, like in the center of the country. But I feel like everybody now is a border state because everybody's being affected by this. And when it comes to, financially, it's just unsustainable at this point. And we're bracing ourselves. It's going to happen. Something bad.
And I think those six terrorists too, weren't they vetted? They went through whatever vetting system we currently have now.
They went into the app.
Right.
Ridiculous.
And the fact that they were in, and I mean, I guess I'm glad, like, kudos to the FBI or whoever was in charge of the sting operation. Like, good job. But I mean, you can't catch all the terrorists that have come in a group of 10 million plus people.
We call this like a sting operation, right? Normally you feel like it's like the dude with the, like walking around like under the micro or the lens, like looking around like, okay, we got fingerprints. This was a guy that filled out an app. Like they were like, we've got a terrorist who just told us he was a terrorist. Like that's not much of a sting operation. I wonder about the people that aren't that stupid. But in all honesty, like I've said this before and I'll say it again. We pledged after 9/11, never forget.
Right.
These people literally are coming into New York, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia. And there's a shrug, a collective shrug among the elected officials.
There's worse than a shrug. There's a welcome because, I mean, if you look at the college protesters, they're on the side of terrorists at this point, and they're saying death to America.
Absolutely.
By the way, they're deporting these 6 people, apparently, according to the last report I read. This isn't like they're prosecuting them or trying to do anything. They're just sending them back. Like they're going to go try again.
Oh my, and they will. And they will
Yes.
try again and they'll get in. I mean, because if you hear about, I mean, I know people that have been victims of crimes of some of these illegals and then they'll push them back. They'll deport them. They'll come right back over. They'll cross 7, 8, 9 times. And it's like, it's because we just allow it. It's like you teach people how to treat you. And what we've taught them as a country is come on in. We'll pay for all your stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I'm sure they're pissed because they didn't get a gift card and a hotel stay. And they're like, hey, well, fine, we'll leave. But next time, remember to take care of us a little bit better.
Yeah.
Or we're going to fill out the customer survey. We're going to give you guys all 1 stars.
Right. And somehow that's xenophobic of us when you look at other countries and other countries don't tolerate this crap, but we do. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I tolerate a lot of crap. And I appreciate, I always love our conversations. Thank you guys. You guys have a great, great show. I love, it's funny in the morning, you guys are live on X and whatever. And I love just tuning in because it's always like so enjoyable in the morning to get a good kick. And it puts me in a good mood, no matter how crappy the subject is or how, it's like you guys have such a fun, enjoyable way of covering even bad news that it puts me in a good mood. So I get some laughter, some entertainment, and in a sometimes not so great world right now. You guys are a ray of sunshine. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. All right.
Thank you.
Guys, we've got a great rest of the week headed your way. An amazing panel. As I mentioned, my friend Tim Murtaugh will be here tomorrow. He was the 2020 communications director for the Trump campaign. And then Friday, we're breaking down those legal cases with a professor from Yale. Yeah, you heard me right. In a way that you've never seen before. Tune in, hit that notification button, YouTube, Rumble, iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, wherever you get your iTunes or your podcast. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.